For 35 years, I did everything for my son. I went to his school every day. I didn't sleep for 72 hours at the hospital. When he lost his job, I took him into my home. And today, he said to the therapist, my mom didn't love me. The voice recorder was in my pocket. My silence was ending. If this story touched your soul, click subscribe and let me know in the comments which city or country you're listening from. I'm genuinely curious to know where you're watching from. I'm grateful to everyone who comments. My name is Margaret Hayes. I'm 58 years old and I live in Maplewood, a small town in Ohio. I was born here, I grew up here, and I became a mother here. I have one child, my son Daniel. But my story goes back much further, to that snowy December night when Daniel was born. It was 1990. I was 23, and my husband Robert worked for a construction company. Daniel was born prematurely. He was 7 months old and weighed only 4 pounds. When the doctors told me, be prepared that first night, I knew exactly what they meant. But I wasn't prepared. I never would be. As I watched my tiny baby, hooked up to tubes in that plastic incubator, I made a promise to myself. If you survive, I will give you everything. Everything. Daniel survived. After 3 months in the hospital, he was able to come home. But his problems weren't over. He had asthma, constant infections, and his development was slower than other children. I remember the nights Robert would say, "You're spoiling him too much." But what would he know? He just went to work and came home. Wasn't I the one who slept next to Daniel on the nights he couldn't breathe? Wasn't I the one who counted his breaths, who knew that every movement meant life? When Daniel turned 4, Robert left. There was another woman, someone from the company. The divorce case lasted a year. Robert didn't even pay child support properly. Since it was hard to find a good job in Maplewood, I started working the night shift. I worked at the register of a 24-hour market. I spent my days with Daniel, leaving him with my neighbor Mrs. Peterson in the evenings to go to work. Have you ever completely changed the center of your life for someone you loved? Have you shaped everything, every decision, around them? Elementary school years. God, how could I forget those years? Daniel had a reading disability. He was diagnosed with dyslexia. The teacher said, it would be better to put him in a special education program, but I refused. Every night I sat with him and practiced reading for hours. I made him write the alphabet 100 times. I stole from my own sleep time. I stole from my own life. In middle school, he was bullied. They teased him, calling him Slow Daniel. Once, he came home from school covered in blood. 3 kids had beaten him up. That night, I spoke to the principal, called those kids' parents, and went to the police station. Mrs. Hayes, maybe Daniel needs to learn to defend himself, the police officer said. Defend himself? My fragile son? Instead, I enrolled Daniel in karate classes, then boxing classes. $150 a month, a third of my salary. But Daniel needed confidence. How much did you sacrifice for your child? What dreams did you give up? High school years came. Daniel's grades were average, but I believed he was capable of more. I hired a private tutor. I spent $2,000 to prepare him for the SAT. And it worked. He was accepted to Ohio State University. From this small town to a state university, Daniel didn't even get a congratulations from Robert. But I cried tears of pride. College expenses were horrendous. I sent $800 every month for rent, books, food. I stopped buying new clothes for myself. I put off going to the dentist until the toothache became unbearable. But Daniel had to succeed. Then, at 23, Daniel lost his job. He worked at a marketing company in Columbus, but the economic crisis hit, and Daniel was on the layoff list. He couldn't pay his apartment rent. When he told me he didn't know what to do, that he was having panic attacks, what did I do? I took him into my home. It'll be temporary, Mom. Just a few months, he said. A few months turned into 6 months. 6 months turned into a year. Daniel fell into depression. He wouldn't go to job interviews because he thought he wasn't good enough. He wouldn't get out of bed until noon. I took him to the doctor, found him a therapist, got him antidepressants. $200 a month. He had no insurance. And that whole year, I I did his laundry. I cooked his meals. I paid his bills. I sat with him when he had panic attacks in the middle of the night. Is this love or something else? How do you draw the line? It was 2 weeks ago. Daniel called me. He's back in his own home now, 35 years old, in a new relationship, engaged to a woman named Jennifer. Mom, Jennifer and I started couples therapy, he said, to strengthen our relationship. The therapist is Dr. Susan Winters, a wonderful woman. And Mom, she said, we need to talk about our family dynamics. Family dynamics. The word sounded dangerous. Can you come to a session? Dr. Winters wants to clarify some things. How could I say no? I've dedicated my whole life to this child. If therapy would help, of course I'd go. Dr. Susan Winters' office was in Dayton in a stylish building, a room decorated with minimalist furniture. White walls, chairs, a table, and a single glass vase with a fake orchid. Dr. Winters was in her 40s, bespectacled, a serious woman. She shook my hand. It was cold. Daniel and Jennifer sat side by side. I sat across from them. Dr. Winters took out a notebook. Margaret, thank you for coming, she said politely, but distantly. It's very important to discuss your family history, to understand Daniel and Jennifer's relationship. Daniel shared some concerns with me about your relationship with your mother. My heart began to race. Concerns? Daniel leaned forward. His hands were clasped together. He wasn't looking at me. Mom, you understand, right? Jennifer and I are trying to set healthy boundaries, and to do that, I need to understand the past. Of course, dear, I said. Whatever you need. Dr. Winters turned to me. Margaret, Daniel mentioned his childhood. What kind of mother do you think you were? It was a strange question. I tried to be a good mother. I tried to do my best. Can you give specific examples? I looked at Daniel. His eyes were still avoiding mine. Jennifer was holding his hand. Daniel was born prematurely. His early years were very difficult. I was always there for him. I provided for all his needs. All his needs? Dr. Winters raised her eyebrows. Yes. Food, clothing, school, health care, everything. Emotional needs? Of course. I was always there. Daniel took a deep breath. Jennifer squeezed his hand a little tighter. Dr. Winters took notes. Margaret, Daniel told me about some incidents. For example, the spring dance in high school. Do you remember? The spring dance. Of course I remembered. Daniel was 16 and wanted to go with a girl named Jessica. But Jessica had said no to him. She had chosen another boy. Daniel was devastated. Yes, I remember. Daniel was very upset. And what did you do? I called Jessica's mother. I talked to her. I told her how her daughter had treated Daniel, how cruel it was. There was silence. Dr. Winters looked at me. Jennifer had a slightly shocked expression on her face. Daniel finally spoke. His voice was low. Mom, you didn't just call. You went to Jessica's house. You yelled at her mother, and Jessica had to apologize to all her friends at school. That's why she hated me. But she hurt you. No, Mom. His voice was firm now. For the first time, he really looked at me. You were trying to solve my problems, but you actually made everything worse. After Jessica, no one wanted to talk to me. I became the kid whose mom gave up on him. Dr. Winters interjected. Margaret, how often did you allow Daniel to make his own decisions? Always, I began, but Daniel cut me off. Never, Mom. You always knew what I should do. Which school I should go to. What job to apply for. What girls not to date. Because I was trying to protect you. No. Daniel stood up. Because you didn't trust me. You never trusted me. Jennifer tried to calm him down, but Daniel continued. Mom, what happened when I lost my job at 27? Do you remember? I moved back home, and what did you do? You came in every morning and woke me up. Look at the job listings, you said. You rewrote my resume. You wanted to come to job interviews. You wanted a 5-year-old man's mother to come to job interviews. I just wanted to support you. No! His voice rose. Dr. Winters tried to intervene, but Daniel was unstoppable now. You wanted to live my life. Always. And now I'm trying to build a life with Jennifer. But your voice is always in my head. You're not good enough. You can't do it on your own. You need me. I felt a weight in my chest. I was having trouble breathing. Daniel, that's not fair. And then he said it. That damn sentence. My mother didn't love me. She never did. She just wanted to control me. I was her project. Something to fill the void in her own life. But it wasn't love. It was never love. The room spun. The white paint on the walls seemed to be closing in on me. 35 years. 35 years of nights spent in a daze. Giving up my own dreams. Every decision, every choice, everything I did was for this child. And he was telling me he didn't love me. Dr. Winters was saying something like, "It's very important that you express these feelings, Daniel." But I wasn't listening. I could only hear my own faint voice. My hand went into my pocket. My phone was there. And the voice recording app, it had been left open by accident. And I was listening to a voice note until Daniel called me. Every word had been recorded. I stood up. "Can I use the bathroom?" I whispered. I looked in the bathroom mirror. I saw the bags under my eyes, the wrinkles, the gray in my hair. I was 58, but I felt like I was 70. My hands were shaking. I took out my phone. The recording was still going, 47 minutes. I hit stop and saved the file. Then I sat down at the sink and cried, quietly, not screaming. Just tears streaming down my cheeks non-stop. My mother didn't love me. Those words kept spinning around in my head. 5 minutes later, maybe 10, I'd lost track of time. I went outside. Daniel and Jennifer were talking quietly in Dr. Winters' office. They fell silent when they saw me. "Margaret, would you like to continue?" Dr. Winters asked softly. "No." My voice was unexpectedly steady. "I think that's enough. Daniel, I hope you find the answers you're looking for." I grabbed my bag and left. I sat in the car for 30 minutes, engine off, watching the town. People were rushing around in this part of Dayton, young people going to work, mothers pushing strollers, couples talking with coffee in their hands. Normal lives. When did I ever live a normal life? It was 4 o'clock when I got home. I didn't turn on the TV. I didn't make dinner. I just sat there, watching the darkness invade the room. And then I turned on the phone and listened to that recording. From start to finish, every word. The anger in Daniel's voice. Jennifer whispering, "You're right, baby." Dr. Winters asking, "How did your mother's behavior affect you?" And Daniel's answers, "I never got to make my own decisions. I always felt I needed her approval. And when I didn't get it, I felt guilty. I still do. Even when I proposed to Jennifer, my first thought was, what will my mother say? I'm 35 years old and I still can't live without my mother's permission. I struggle in my relationships because intimacy feels suffocating to me. My mom wrapped me up so tightly that love feels like I can't breathe. Jennifer, you're the first woman who makes me feel free. Maybe my mom really did love me, but her love was toxic. She thought she was helping, but she was actually crippling me. And the worst part is, she doesn't even know it. She's still the victim, still the hero mom who does everything for me. I threw the phone. It hit the wall, and the screen cracked. But I'd heard enough already. Have you ever felt completely misunderstood? Have you ever been seen as a monster despite all your good intentions? I couldn't sleep that night. I got up at 6 a.m. and made coffee in the kitchen. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I took out the old photo albums, Daniel's baby photos. Premature, that tiny body. The day he took his first step at 18 months, ahead of other babies. His first day of elementary school, lunchbox in hand, fear in his eyes. Middle school graduation. High school prom, yes. The prom after the Jessica incident. Daniel went alone and I took his picture, forcing a smile. Looking at each photo, I began to notice something. Daniel's face. He never looked truly happy in any of the photos. He was smiling, yes, but his eyes. His eyes were always tense, always alert, as if he were waiting for something, to do something, right? For my approval? I paused at one photo. Daniel was 8 years old, learning to ride a bike. I was holding the back of the bike. He was pedaling. Mrs. Peterson was holding the camera. In the photo, I was looking not at Daniel, but at me, at my face. And what do I see there? Fear. Pure, raw fear. As if Daniel was going to fall, break, disappear. I closed the album. My hands were shaking again. I didn't hear from Daniel for 3 days. Normally he would call every day. How are you, Mom? Are you okay? Do you need anything? But now there was silence. On the 4th day, Jennifer called. Margaret? It's Jennifer. Can we talk? Of course, I said. Face to face. Let's have coffee. Just you and me. It seemed like a strange request, but I agreed. We met at the Main Street Cafe in Maplewood, the town's small, cozy coffee shop. When Jennifer arrived, she smiled. But it wasn't a real smile. As we sat down, she said, Margaret, first I want to say this. I know how hard your life has been. Daniel told me everything. Raising him alone, making sacrifices. It wasn't easy. Thank you, I said quietly. But, Jennifer looked at her coffee, Daniel needs to heal. And unfortunately, that healing has to happen without you. It felt like someone had punched me in the chest. What do you mean? We need to set boundaries. Daniel and I are getting married, and we won't be inviting you to the wedding. The world stopped. What? Jennifer reached out her hand, but I pulled away. Margaret, please understand. This is Daniel's decision. He needs to cut off contact with you right now, for the therapy process, to find his own identity. His own identity? I'm his mother. Yes, and maybe that's part of the problem. Jennifer's voice hardened. You've controlled every part of his life. Now, he wants to be free. I love him. I know you think you do. Jennifer stood up. But Daniel doesn't need love, Margaret. He needs space. And we're going to give it to him. Please don't try to call him, text him, or go to his house during this process. He'll reach out to you when he's ready. And she left. She left me there, with half a cup of coffee and a broken heart. Do you think Jennifer is right? Can a mother be completely cut off from her child? Is that fair? The next day, I got a letter in the mail. From Daniel. Handwritten. Mom, I know this is hard. It's hard for me too. But Dr. Winters is right. We need some distance for a while. This isn't to punish you. It's for me to find myself. Maybe you did everything with good intentions. But the result is that I'm an unhealthy person. I'm 35 years old, and I still can't make my own decisions because you were always there, doing everything. I beg you to understand this. 6 months. Just 6 months. Don't contact me for 6 months. And then, maybe, we can make a fresh start with a healthy relationship. Daniel. I tore up the letter. Then I gathered the pieces and taped them back together. Then I tore it up again. Then I cried. A week passed. Then 2 weeks. Everyone in Maplewood started asking, How's Daniel, Margaret? I heard there's a wedding. I smiled and said, He's great, very happy. But inside, I was dying. Mrs. Peterson, my neighbor who looked after Daniel when he was little, came to my door one day. Margaret, I can see you're not well. What happened? And for the first time, I told someone everything. The therapy session, Jennifer's words, the letter, everything. Mrs. Peterson shook her head. That boy doesn't know what he's doing. You did everything for him. But maybe doing everything was wrong, I said quietly. It was the first time I'd ever said that thought out loud. Don't be ridiculous. You're a wonderful mother. You were there when Robert left you. You were there when Daniel got sick. You were there when he lost his job. But maybe I was there too much. Mrs. Peterson frowned. What do you mean? Maybe Daniel needed to fall on his own, fail on his own, learn on his own. And because I was always rushing to rescue him, he never got stronger. Do you think that by protecting our children from their mistakes, we are actually hindering their growth? Mrs. Peterson said, You're being too emotional right now. Take a break. And left. But after that conversation, An idea began to form in my mind. That voice recording. It was still in my pocket. I'd had my phone repaired, and the recording hadn't been deleted. A 47-minute recording, every word Daniel used to accuse me. What could I do with it? I wasn't invited to the wedding, but half the town was. According to town gossip, the wedding would be in 2 months, in June, at the Riverside Inn, Maplewood's fanciest venue. 150 people were invited. I could play the recording at the wedding. In front of everyone. I imagined Daniel's face, Jennifer's face. How humiliated they would be. People saying, "Look how this kid treats his mother." How embarrassed they would be. Revenge would be sweet. But then another idea came to me. A darker idea. Maybe I could send the recording to Daniel's workplace. He was working at a big tech company now in Columbus. An anonymous email to Human Resources. See what kind of person this man is, how he treats his mother. What would happen to his career plans? Or I could send it to Jennifer's family. Jennifer's family is very conservative, Jennifer told me. A good Protestant family. People who talk about family values. What would they do if they knew the man their daughter was going to marry treated his mother like this? I thought about this all night long. I constructed revenge scenarios. Each one was more ruthless than the last. And strangely, these thoughts comforted me. I finally felt like I had some power. 3 weeks later, while shopping at the supermarket, I ran into someone, Robert, Daniel's father. I was seeing him for the first time in 20 years. He had aged, his hair was completely white, he had a paunch, but he was still the same man. He was walking towards his car and saw me. He paused for a moment, then he approached. "Margaret." "Robert." "It's been so long, how are you?" "I'm fine." I was lying, but why would I tell the truth? "I heard about Daniel. He's getting married. Congratulations." "Yes." My tone was sharp. Robert looked me over. "Is something wrong?" And I don't know why, maybe because I had nothing left to lose. Maybe because Robert had already done the worst to me, but I told him everything. The therapy session, the boundaries, the wedding ban. Robert listened. Then he took a deep breath. "Margaret, I'd be lying if I said I was surprised." "What do you mean?" "You've always been like this. You've always been too much. When Daniel was a baby, you came to the hospital every day. You would sit there for hours. The nurses would tell you, 'Go home, get some rest,' but you wouldn't. Then when you came home, you never left him alone. Not for a second. He was a sick baby." "Yes, but you never saw him as a normal child. You always saw him as fragile, always in need of protection." I said, "Let him play, let him fall," and you said, "He'll get hurt." I said, "Let him fight with his friends," and you said, "I have to protect him." You left. My voice turned into a scream. People turned to look in the supermarket parking lot. "You abandoned him. You abandoned me." "Yes, I left." Robert's voice was calm but sad. "Because I couldn't breathe in that house, Margaret. Everything revolved around Daniel. Our relationship disappeared. You just became a mother, not a wife. And Daniel couldn't breathe either. But you didn't want to see that. What do you know? You weren't there." "You're right. I wasn't there. And that's my biggest regret. Maybe if I had been there, Daniel would have grown up differently. Maybe you would have been different too." "But Margaret." Robert put his hand on my shoulder. I shrugged it off. "What Daniel is doing now is right. It's hard, but it's right. You never taught him to fly. You always caught him." Robert left. I stayed there, next to my car, in tears. After that night, something changed inside me. The anger was still there, but another feeling was added. Doubt. I called Dr. Winters. "Yes, the therapist who ruined me," his secretary said. "Dr. Winters isn't taking new patients," but I insisted. "Please tell him Margaret Hayes is calling, Daniel Hayes' mother." 2 days later, Dr. Winters called me. "Margaret, how can I help you?" "I want a session. Just me." "Not Daniel." Silence. Then, "This is ethically complicated. I'm Daniel's therapist. Please." My voice broke. Just one session. I want to understand. Am I really such a bad mother? A week later, I'm back in Dr. Winter's office, this time alone. This time, no one is judging me. Just me and those white walls. Margaret, it takes courage to be here, Dr. Winters said. Most parents don't do this. I want answers. Why does Daniel feel this way? I love him. Why isn't that enough? Dr. Winters took off his glasses. Margaret, love isn't always enough. The kind of love matters. What kind of love was your love for Daniel? Unconditional. I gave him everything. You gave him everything. But in exchange for what? I paused. In exchange for what? Yes. Did Daniel give you anything in return? Gratitude? Obedience? Dependence? I just wanted him to be happy. Or did you want him to need you? Those words hung in the air. Deep, ugly, true words. No, Margaret, I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to be honest. Just be honest with yourself. When Daniel was independent, living his own life, how did you feel? I thought about it. Daniel, in college, the first time he left home. I remembered those days, the empty house, the silence, the aimlessness. I would text him every day. Are you okay? Did you eat? Are you studying? And when he didn't reply, panic, fear, like I'd lost a part of myself. I'd feel empty, I whispered. And when Daniel was at home, when you needed him, I'd feel whole. Dr. Winters shook her head. Margaret, what I see here is not a mother-son relationship. It's a codependent relationship. You were emotionally dependent on Daniel. And to maintain that dependency, you unconsciously kept him weak. No. When Daniel fell, you picked him up immediately. You solved his problems immediately when he failed. You never allowed him to grow stronger, because if he grew stronger, he wouldn't need you. And you had become very accustomed to needing him. Have you ever asked yourself, is your love really for them or for your own needs? Tears began to flow, because Dr. Winters was right. I needed Daniel. After Robert left, my life was in pieces. Daniel kept me going. Daniel gave me purpose. Without Daniel, who was I? What should I do? I asked. First, you need to heal yourself. You need to find your own identity, independent of Daniel. Then, maybe, you can build a healthy relationship with Daniel. I felt devastated as I left the office, but at the same time, light. As if a burden I'd been carrying for years had lessened a little. That night I came home and picked up the phone. That recording was still there, 47 minutes. I thought about my revenge scenarios, ruining the wedding, putting Daniel's job at risk, telling Jennifer's family. Then I thought about Dr. Winters' words. And then I pressed play. I listened again. But this time I listened differently. This time I listened to Daniel, not myself. My mother didn't love me. But then I heard the rest, heard it for the first time. I mean, maybe she did. But was it me she loved, or my need for her? She protected me growing up, but the line between protecting and imprisoning is very thin. Now, at 35, I don't know who I am. I've never seen who I am without my mother, and that's very scary. His voice was trembling. Daniel wasn't crying, but there was that pain in his voice. The fragmentation of a son living with the fear of losing his mother, but also the need to escape from her. And I noticed something else. At the 39th minute of the recording, Dr. Winters asked, Daniel, what would you like to say to your mother? Daniel was silent for a long time. Then, in a very soft, very fragile voice, I love you, Mom. I still do. But in order for me to love you, I need to distance myself from you first. I hope one day you'll understand. I hung up the phone. Slowly, I moved my finger toward the delete button. Revenge would be sweet. But this recording was Daniel's most vulnerable moment. Would using it, turning it into a weapon, really make me a mother? Or would I become exactly what Daniel feared, controlling, manipulative, using her son for her own needs? Delete. Are you sure? Yes. Recording deleted. 6 months. Daniel wanted 6 months. I gave him 6 months and more. During those 6 months, I went to therapy. Once a week, with Dr. Rachel Morrison, not Dr. Winters, another therapist in town. We talked. We talked a lot. About my childhood, my marriage, motherhood, loneliness, fear, emptiness. Margaret, have you ever thought about who you are, besides being Daniel's mother? Dr. Morrison asked. I hadn't. Not in 35 years. I found a hobby painting. Yes, at 58, I started painting for the first time. It was terrible at first, but it didn't matter. For me, not for anyone else. I joined a book club. I started seeing old friends again. I'd always been busy with Daniel. I'd neglected them. Mrs. Peterson and I started having coffee once a week, but this time without talking about Daniel. And, most importantly, I redecorated my house, Daniel's old room. I hadn't touched it in years. The posters from his high school days were still on the wall. I turned it into a guest room. It felt like a breath of fresh air. 7 months later, a month longer than Daniel had wanted, Daniel called. Mom? Hearing his voice. God, hearing his voice both hurt and healed me. Daniel. Hello. Can we talk? Face to face? A week later, we met at a cafe. Not in our town, somewhere neutral an hour away, in a city. Daniel looked different. Lighter. His shoulders were straighter, his eyes brighter. Mom, first I need to apologize, he said, for what I said in therapy. It was very cruel. No, Daniel. I raised my hand. It was true. Maybe it was said harshly, but it was true. He was surprised. Mom, I went to therapy too, I said. For 7 months. And I learned that you were right. I loved you, but I loved you in an unhealthy way. I was attached to you, and without realizing it, I hurt you. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. Mom, And now I understand. You loved me by distancing yourself from me, because that was the only way for both of us. Do you think forgiving is easy? Or is it the hardest, most courageous thing to do? We talked for a long time. 3 hours. Coffee, lunch, dessert. We really talked for the first time. Without defenses, without accusations. I shared my fears, my emptiness, my dependency. He shared his pain, his helplessness, his need for freedom. How are things with Jennifer? I asked. Good. Really good. Mom, she loves me for who I am. You loved me as your son. She loves me as me. Then you're very lucky, I said. And I truly felt that way. The wedding is in 2 weeks. Daniel paused. Mom, I want you to come. If you're ready, if you want to come. Tears streamed down my face. Of course I'll come. But Mom, there's one condition. My heart tightened. What is it? At the wedding, when I give my vows to Jennifer, you won't interfere. You won't meddle in the arrangements. You'll just be a guest. You'll be my mom, but not the controlling one. You'll just be there, be happy, and leave. Can you do that? I took a deep breath. The old me, the me from 7 months ago, would have said, but I want to help. I can give advice. I know better. But now, yes, Daniel, I can do it. I promise. Daniel smiled. A real warm smile. I hadn't seen him smile like that in years. 2 weeks flew by. I knew nothing about wedding preparations. Daniel didn't call for information. Jennifer didn't call for ideas. And I didn't call. It was hard. My finger went to the phone so many times to ask, what color are the flowers? How many tiers is the cake? What will be served to the guests? But I remembered Dr. Morrison's words. Margaret, controlling is not love. Letting go is love. The wedding day arrived. It was a sunny Saturday in June. The Riverside Inn was beautiful white chairs set up by the river, under the shade of trees, with a flower-adorned archway. There were 150 people. Town acquaintances, Daniel's friends, Jennifer's family. I sat in the back. Not in the front row. Not in the middle. In the back. Quietly. When the ceremony began, Jennifer came down the aisle. On her father's arm, in her white dress, she looked stunning. Then Daniel in his tuxedo, standing tall, happiness in his eyes. Do you know what it feels like to see your child all grown up, happy, belonging to someone else? The priest began to speak about love, about commitment, about the journey of two people. Daniel and Jennifer looked at each other with a look that made it seem as if they were the only two people in the world. And I cried. But this time, not out of sadness, out of pride. Daniel was happy, truly happy, and he had found this happiness for the first time independently of me. The vows came. Jennifer said hers. Daniel said his. I love you because you taught me to fly, Daniel said, and I knew he wasn't just talking about Jennifer. By moving away from me, he had learned to fly. The ceremony ended. Applause, kisses, photos. The reception began. Food, dancing, conversations. I sat at my table again at the back, in the corner, and watched. Daniel laughed with his friends. He talked with Jennifer's family. He spun with Jennifer on the dance floor. I didn't interfere with anything. I noticed the food was late, but I didn't say anything. When the music was too loud, I didn't complain. When one of the flower arrangements fell over, I didn't rush to fix it. I just sat there and watched. I watched my son be happy. Halfway through the reception, Daniel came over to me. Mom, will you dance with me? I was surprised. But the first dance is with Jennifer. It was with Jennifer. Now I want to be with you. I got up. We went to the dance floor. A slow song was playing Louis Armstrong's What a Wonderful World. Daniel took my hand. I put my hand on his waist, and we started dancing. Mom, Daniel said softly, thank you. For what? For letting go. I know it was hard, but you did it. And this is the greatest show of love. My tears came again. Are you happy, Daniel? Yes, Mom. I'm really happy. For the first time, I'm truly happy. Then I'm happy too. As we danced, Daniel rested his head on my shoulder like a little boy, but he wasn't a little boy anymore. He had grown up, and I had let him go. I love you, Mom, he said. I love you too, son. And now we can love each other healthily, right? Yes, I said. Now we can love each other healthily. After the wedding, Daniel and Jennifer went on their honeymoon to Italy. For 2 weeks, I didn't call, I didn't text. Only once, the day after the wedding, did I send a thank you message. The wedding was wonderful. Be very happy. I love you. Daniel replied, Thanks, Mom, for being there and for not being there. I understood what he meant. During those 2 weeks, I focused on myself. I painted a landscape from the riverbank. I went to book club. We read Educated by Tara Westover, and the discussion was intense. Mrs. Peterson and I went shopping. Normal things, small things, but for me it was important. When Daniel and Jennifer returned from their honeymoon, they invited us over for dinner to their house. Jennifer had cooked, the table was set, candles were lit. We talked throughout the meal about their travels, their new house, their jobs. Normal, ordinary conversations. But this normality, it was so valuable. Because for the first time, Daniel and I weren't mother and damaged son. We were mother and adult son. After dinner, Jennifer went into the kitchen to do the dishes. Daniel and I sat on the balcony, drinking wine. Mom, Daniel said, I want to tell you something. My heart raced. What is it? What? I said in therapy, the part about my mom didn't love me. That wasn't true. Daniel, you... No, listen. You did love me, but the way you showed it was wrong. And I was so angry then, so hurt. I couldn't see clearly. But now, after therapy, after I distanced myself from you, now I understand. You did what you could. With your own wounds, your own fears, you did what you could. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Forgiveness brings peace not only to the other person, but also to yourself. Isn't that right? Daniel, And now, you've changed. You went to therapy, you grew up, you let go. And that, Mom, that's really hard. Most parents can't do that. But you did. And I'm grateful to you for that. We hugged. A long, tight, real hug. Years of pain, anger, and fear melted away in that hug. I'm still not a perfect mother, I said. I'll still make mistakes. I know, and I'm still not a perfect son. I'll make mistakes too. But now, we can do this together. Honestly. Healthily. Agreed. Today is Daniel's 36th birthday. Jennifer organized a party, small, intimate, just close friends and family. I'm invited too. Before leaving, I look in the mirror. I'm 59 now, more wrinkles, more gray hair, but my eyes no longer carry that old fear. There's no emptiness anymore. I've found myself, without Daniel. I arrive at the party. Daniel opens the door, smiling. Mom, you came. Of course I came. Happy birthday, sweetheart. Inside, Jennifer, a few friends, and a surprise. Jennifer is pregnant, 4 months along. Mom, Daniel says, we wanted to tell you, a baby is coming, a boy, and we're going to name him Charlie. You're going to be a grandmother. Grandmother, the word feels strange in my mouth, but it's a nice strange. That's wonderful news, I say, and I hug them both. Margaret, we want to talk to you about something, Jennifer says. When the baby is born, we'll want your help, of course, but with boundaries. I understand, I say, and I really do understand. We love grandparents, Jennifer continues, but we want to make our own mistakes. We want to learn our own way. And you, Daniel adds, you'll be a grandmother, a wonderful grandmother, but not one who controls us, just one who supports us. Agreed, I say, just supportive, with boundaries. And in that moment, I realize this journey, this painful, difficult journey of breaking down and rebuilding, wasn't just for Daniel. It was for me too. I grew up too. I learned to fly too. The party continues. Cake is cut, songs are sung, stories are shared. I sit in a corner, still in the background, but this time, by choice, and watch. I watch my son, now a man, soon a father. I watch his wife, gentle and strong. I watch the future, baby Charlie, not yet born, but already loved. Mrs. Peterson comes over to me. You look happy, Margaret. I am happy, I say. And surprisingly, it's true. Daniel is happy too. Yes, and that's enough. Mrs. Peterson squeezes my hand. You've changed, you know. You're not the Margaret from a year ago. I know, and that's good. As the night progresses, Daniel and Jennifer call me aside. Mom, we want to show you something. They take me to the nursery, still in preparation, but the crib is set up. The walls are painted a soft blue. Mom, Daniel says, you taught me how to teach Charlie how to be a mother, with your mistakes, with your love, and now I'll do it differently, but you laid the foundation. And, says Jennifer, we want to learn from you. What you did right, what you did wrong. But not as judgment, just as conversation. Okay? I nod. The tears come again, but this time they're tears of joy. Okay, I say, let's learn. Together. That night, driving home, a song plays on the radio, Harry Chapin's Cats in the Cradle. It's about a father who never spent time with his son, and then his son never spent time with him. But my story is the opposite. I spent too much time, and both are wrong. When I get home, I think about that old recording, that 47-minute recording I deleted. Do I ever regret it? I could have used that recording. I could have humiliated Daniel. I could have gotten revenge. But no. Deleting that recording was the best decision I ever made, because getting revenge would have meant control. Forgiving would mean letting go. And I chose to let go. Now, I sit at my easel. I start a new painting. A mother and son, but from a distance. Separate but connected. Independent but beloved. And maybe, in the end, that's what true love is. Not being close. Letting go. Allowing them to fly. And as they fly, applauding them. What is your story? Have you ever realized that your love was causing harm? Have you learned to let go? Comment, share, because sometimes the best healing comes from listening to each other's stories.